Yep, it's an alien movie. And when I say that, I'm not just saying it is a movie in the Aliens franchise. It is a movie about the movie Alien, and also like Aliens and some of the other movies in the franchise. But like specifically, it is about the movie Alien with Sigourney Weaver from 1979. It is the movie Alien. Now, granted, before I did watch the movie, I did watch Alien about an hour beforehand, so a lot of those things that it references were like directly in the front of my mind, so I noticed them very clearly. But still, like, the parallels are just too specific to ignore. But before I get too deep into that, I do want to talk about the rest of the movie, because a lot of that stuff doesn't take place until the end. You're not going to start getting like them heavy references to alien specific material until later in the film. So I do want to talk about some of the things earlier in the movie that do work for me. Firstly, this movie is gorgeous. It just looks so good from start to finish. There is never a moment in this movie where my eyes were not treated to some absolute visual candy. Like, it just was beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful movie. And that extends even to like the sound design and a lot of the like practical effects and the world building and design. Like, it's just like, it's so cohesive and visually interesting and thematically cohesive that like I do really appreciate a lot of the artistic choice that are going on in the movie. It just really worked for me. I also do like a lot of the characters in this movie. I especially like Andy and his role as the synthetic in the movie, and his relationship with Rain and the tension between the other characters is really interesting, and especially the way that they utilize him as a catalyst for the story, especially once they get onto the ship, is engaging to me, and I think it really works well. And I would say a lot of these choices, both like thematically, visually, character-wise, all really work for the first half of the movie. Like, the first half of the movie, I'm super engaged, I'm bought in on the story, I'm on the edge of my seat, everything's working for me. Then we cross over and kind of to the second half of the movie. And this is where I'm going to delve into some light spoilers about kind of some themes that are used in the movie and some things that are carried over from some other films. So if you're not familiar with other Alien projects, I mean, I think you can still watch this part of the video. I just want to warn you in case you don't want any spoilers going into the movie. About halfway through the movie, we are introduced to a synthetic that happens to share the face of Ash from the first movie. It's called Rook. It is not the same unit, but it looks the same. It has the same face, which is interesting, to say the least, because the actor who played Ash in the original movie is dead, not alive anymore, which means that they CGI resurrected another person so that they could get a facial recognition for a character who doesn't need to be in this movie. It could have been another synthetic. And I was already so excited by the fact that we had a new synthetic in the form of Andy, and he was very interesting as a character. And then we introduce Ash lookalike zombie CGI actor on a table who is, I guess, integral to the story. But why does he have the face of Ash? Why did we need to do that? It is very weird to me. But that aside, I think as a part of the story, it works. I think it makes sense for the world to have a synthetic that will interface with Andy. I just don't personally think it should have been Rook or Ash lookalike, whatever. I just don't think it should have been them. I think it should have been just some random other synthetic that they didn't know, and it had similar mannerisms to some of the synthetics we've seen in other movies. And again, we're not even to the end of the Alien references. I swear it gets worse. So then, there are more intense and interesting scenes. There are a lot of action scenes, which actually work better than I expected them to. There's some suspense scenes that are really gripping. There's a particular scene where a group of characters are on one side of a door, and then another character is on another side of the door, and the Xenomorph is on that same side of the door, and it works really well. And I think it's very suspenseful, and you see that, and it's just tense, and it works. There are many other action scenes like this throughout the movie. Again, I don't want to spoil the set pieces because they're very, very interesting, very engaging, and like the movie has a lot of character and a lot of enjoyable scenes. There is one scene in particular that takes place on a walkway and deals with the pulse rifles that they have in the game, and it's very interesting and very intense. And then the following scene, after dealing with the things on the walkway, there is a follow-up scene that is very interesting after that. And a lot of the action scenes and a lot of the suspense scenes and everything, it works very well, and it does well to distract from the already distracting alien references in the movie. And once we get past that scene that I was just talking about, once we get past that, it then becomes alien reference the movie. Like, if it wasn't already that, it's like it's one after another. And in my opinion, they're not all tasteful. They are a little too on the nose. And this is where I'm going to get into very specific things about the ending of the movie. So if you haven't seen the movie, or you want to see it, or even if you just don't want to hear the ending of the movie for whatever reason, just like don't watch this portion, skip to the end of the video. I'm going to talk about some very specific moments in the movie and how I think they're just very strange to be the way that they are. The first example is a scene very closely after the catwalk scene that I just described, where Andy and Rain are taking an elevator back to the ship, and there are aliens involved. It's a very tense scene. I actually like most of this scene, but there is something that happens at the very end of the scene where Andy gets a hold of the gun and kills an alien, and then says, "Get away from her, you bitch," stutter included. Now, that's a cheeky reference to aliens, you know? But, I have a question. Hey, Fox / Disney, did you know that this movie takes place before Aliens? And also, did you know that this movie takes place in the Alien universe? So, it doesn't make any fucking sense to have a character in an Alien movie reference direct quotes from a character that has not said those lines yet in the universe that they are currently being said. This does not make any sense. What the fuck are you doing? And yeah, it's like a funny line. It makes sense that you would want to reference this kind of thing, but like, these are movies that, like, I feel like should be taking themselves a little bit more seriously than this. I feel like this is not like Marvel movie dialogue where you're like, let's just reference another movie that exists, because like, this isn't pop culture. This is a movie that takes place in the far distant future, but also the movie that it's referencing is from our past. And so like, it doesn't fall victim to the same tropes, and it just feels out of place to have a modern movie set in the timeline back when that's supposed to happen. It just doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Okay. I'm done referencing that specific line. Let's move on. So then they deal with all of the aliens. They get back to the ship. They start wrapping it up, and this is where it feels so close to the movie Alien, because, you know, the tone is slowing down. Oh, you think you're getting close towards the end of the movie. They're getting on the ship. They're packing everything up. They're getting into the cryopod, and Rain is literally like in her underwear, getting into the cryopod, just about to finish up the story. And then one of the cryopods starts beeping and having a problem. And she opens it up, and it's a problem. And she like starts dealing with the problem, starts doing the thing. And then once the problem emerges from the cryopod, she goes into the closet and gets into a spacesuit and puts it on while she's hiding from an alien like creature in the other room in her underwear. This is a one for one scene from Alien. It's just a direct scene. It's a direct scene from Alien, and it doesn't feel right to me. And maybe I'm wrong, but it just doesn't feel like it fits. It feels like they just were like, you know what? Let's just plop an entire scene from Alien in here. It just is so weird. It's so strange. And that's about where the problems that I have with the movie kind of end, because once it gets towards the actual last act of the movie, like the last ending kind of climactic scene, I think it works pretty well from there. I like the ending. I like what they do with the kind of surprise, shocking nature of that last piece. But just having all those bits and pieces referencing specific things from Alien movies, it just feels disingenuous to me. It feels like something that Disney is doing with their kind of hold over all the Fox properties, being like, yeah, you should know, you know these lines, you know these things, these are things you know, you should like them and think about them and remember them and buy our merch and buy our shirts and buy a ticket for the movie. It just feels so like blatant that it's just a reference directly to something that it's like things you know. Here are things you know. But I think that's just a general problem that Disney properties now are going to continue to have to overcome, is not doing that thing over and over again. But you know, I think besides those things which to me are very glaring, I think the rest of the movie works pretty well. I really enjoyed it. I would probably give it like a 7.5 out of 10. It's pretty good. It's a decent, enjoyable movie, but those things, in my opinion, drag it down a little bit. But yeah, I know it's been a little bit since the movie came out, but I've been working on this video off and on, whenever I could. So, hopefully you enjoyed it. This did just kind of like, it felt like I was just ranting about things that happened in the movie, but in general, I do like it. I think it works pretty well for me. And yeah, that's pretty much it. See ya.